Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going over some of the more fundamental processes when it comes to stretching pizza dough, through the basics, through some of the skills and techniques you can learn to make it just a bit easier for y'all. One of the most important things when it comes to the pizza dough is making sure you've got it floured. You really can never have too much as far as when it's in the bowl, but you do want to be careful to not put too much flour on the paddle, because that'll get in your oven and it'll give your pizza kind of that dry taste. So you want really just a sprinkle when you're coming over to the paddle here, and then you can just spread it out with your hands, making sure you got it spread out evenly on the paddle. And then as far as with the pizza dough, you want to press it down in the bowl. That way the bottom and inside of the dough gets some flour as well. And you can also rotate it in the bowl. That way your edges get flour as well. If you have any wet spots in your dough, when you go to take it off the paddle to put it in the oven, it can stick, and that's definitely not what you want. Because then half your pizza will go in the oven, half of it stays on the paddle, and it just creates a big mess. Alright. Once you got it floured, you want to start with the top of your dough facing you. So when your dough is in your tray or wherever you had it, whichever part was facing up, you want also facing up on your paddle. This is where you want to use your fingers and the balls of your knuckles here to really press down the dough. And what this does is creates a bigger surface area for you to work with when you start actually picking it up and stretching it. So you just kind of knead it out here. A lot of people will overlook this step and sometimes just try and go straight to throwing the dough up in the air and throwing it above your head, and this is actually one of the more important parts, because if you don't get a big enough surface area, what you're going to find is you're going to have a lot of uneven surfaces in your dough. So your middle might be really thin, and you have your crust and your outer edges a lot thicker, which isn't necessarily what you want, because that can create holes in it in the oven. And as you can see, I have not flipped the dough yet. I'm still working with that top part. And the way you can tell which side of the dough you're on, that top part is going to be a lot drier, because that's the part that was facing up in the tray. And the part that was touching your tray is a lot smoother. You see how it doesn't have any cracks in it or anything. So top, bottom. And once you are done pressing out all the air bubbles, as you can see now I've got a bigger surface area to work with, that's when you're going to want to go ahead and flip it over. Now this top part that's dry and smooth, it's got a lot of flour on it, that's going to spin a lot easier on your paddle. Alright, this is about what you're looking for in an 18-inch pizza, as far as when you want to start stretching it. Now that we've kneaded it out, we've got a bigger surface area to work with. So, this is one of the hardest parts for people to learn, and really it just takes a lot of practice. There's more than one way to do it, but it's kind of finding what works best for you. What I've found though is, it depends if you're right or left-handed. I'm right-handed, so I pull the dough with my right hand, and I just put slight pressure down with my left. I'm not pushing down hard. My left hand is really just holding the dough in place. So just to do it slowly for you. Really my right hand is doing all the pulling and stretching, and my left hand kind of just flows with the dough, just putting down some very slight pressure. That way it does have something to stretch off of. But you don't want to press down too hard with your other hand, with your left hand, because then you can stretch it too thin, and that can create holes and tears in the dough. As you can see, this gets it stretched out even more than just pressing it down. And then when you get to about this size is when you want to pick it up and then start stretching it in the air. And when you're doing this, you want to catch the crust or the outer edge of the dough right on the edge of your fingertips. You can see my thumb there. And what this does, it gravity really does most of the work. What it's doing is allowing the dough to stretch from the middle and not just the edges. If you stretch it and hold just in the middle, then the middle is going to get really thin because gravity is pulling from the middle. That's why you want to catch it as far to the edge as you possibly can, because that way the dough is also going to stretch on your crust and it's not just stretching out the middle. One of the biggest problems people run into when they get started is they'll find the middle part of the dough is super thin and their crust is super thick. That's why it's so important to make sure you know where you're catching it. As you can see, I'm still on the edges, just like that. Alright, now we've got our dough all stretched out to about that 18-inch size. One thing to note, you want the top part of your original dough to now be on the bottom. So if you see the more cracked and drier spot, you want that to be on the bottom. And the original under part of your dough now ends up on top. The reason for that is this part is going to be a lot wetter, a lot more moist. And so you want that part facing you, so that way it slides off the paddle a lot easier. As you can see, there's still little air bubbles. Most of those will just come right out in the oven, not a big deal, as long as you press most of them out. But this is really what you're looking for. This nice even surface. And that's about it. There you guys have it. Thanks for watching. Hope you all enjoy.